Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Graybeards. My name's Wayne, and over here to my left over here is Bud. How you doing this morning? A little slow go.
I'm doing good, man. At 9:30, not
Yeah,
our traditional time to get together,
yeah. Well, I was
but
up. I know you
I
was.
was asleep.
Oh yeah. Well, I
Nothing
texted.
like
I don't know what
nothing
time
like
I text you.
perfection. Yeah, okay. You know what that text was like? That text was like an irritant.
Yeah, I know you were like, no, I'm not up.
But that was like 45 minutes later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
when I
that's
woke
fine,
up,
man. I get it, man. It's one of those things. You work hard. How many yards did you do yesterday?
I did 8 and I got 5 more to do, which I won't be able to do them because they're raining. But I got out, I started late, man. I didn't get out there early. I was
Yeah,
reluctant to go out there by myself. But you
yeah,
know
but
what? I'm gonna have to do that. My helpers are, they got real jobs, man. So I gotta. That's one reason I can't expand because everybody got to live, everybody got to eat.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
it's always kind of been a side hustle for you, anyways, right?
yeah.
Doing
Mhm.
yards. I'm still
Break
waiting for
glass.
our viewers are still waiting to see your video.
I know. I'm viewers.
Yeah,
I apologize, man.
to show the what you do on what your side gig is, right? So they know.
Mhm. Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
they listen a little bit.
All right, viewers,
Um,
I'm on camera, so I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it live. You guys will have a video or two from me before the next show.
okay, I'll help you
Before the
with it.
next,
You just gotta send me the video and I'll post it if you want.
yeah, I don't mind doing it. Well, hey, that counts.
That's something, right?
That
Um,
counts.
yeah. So I mean, little rainy day today, and you're getting ready a little trip. You think to go see your folks over in Georgia?
Yeah, but Jada and I gonna get on the road probably around noon, and we're gonna head on down just in time for dinner. So
Just
we're
in
gonna go down
time.
there.
What is it's about what 4 hours or so from here?
I wish it's 5.5 hours, man.
Oh, it
So
is
it's
five and a half. Well, and then you got to
Mhm.
deal with Memorial Weekend traffic.
Traffic, yeah.
I hope everybody it is happy Memorial Weekend. Hope we all. We talked earlier. We sit and talk on the phone before we do the show. We were talking about Memorial Day weekend, how important it is to, growing up, I didn't really, and we talked about this there. I didn't know what Memorial Day um, really meant, and it means different things. There, most people Memorial Day weekend is like the summer kickoff, and uh, growing up for me was we would a lot of times we would have a family picnic. My dad's family where I grew up was, my mom had a very small family. It was just her and her brother and her parents for the most, but none of them really lived up where we lived in
Hmm.
Erie, Pennsylvania. So with my dad's uncle, they would always have this big get together, and we'd all the family would get together, and we'd have break bread, if you will, and I'd get to
Yeah.
play with my cousins,
Hmm.
if you will, second cousins, I guess. They were more my dad's cousins because they were closer to my age. Um, really kind of weird, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we would just break bread. We didn't really understand what Memorial Day was. I didn't realize that till I was older, really what
You
Memorial.
did trigger a thought, man. Amazing when you get old. You can say these little flag words and it jolt my memory.
Yeah,
Memorial Day for me as a kid. Now, I would, my mom was like, "We're having hot dogs today." You know what I'm saying? Oh,
mm,
your dad is gonna cook on the grill, but I didn't know. But only thing I knew about Memorial Day was they played a whole bunch of these military movies, man.
Oh yeah,
Dirty Dozen, you know, this old school movies with
yeah.
these Charles Bronson and all these guys in it. Charles, you know, they
Hmm.
were doing some heroic deeds. John Wayne, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I love to watch those military movies, man. That's that those movies though, they cause me to stereotype people
Well,
because
yeah, and in a sense, it does. They, it really gives a person to think about those that have, fought for this country, for the world, even, to have peace. It's unfortunate we have to, you know, still have wars because of ideologies, differences, and whatever. It's unfortunate, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you
But
know,
yeah,
World
you
War
talk
II,
about the movies. I didn't even think about the movies.
that was it, man. That was the I loved, I mean, where I was from, where I grew up at, they would have like these marathon movies, man. And I would just love to watch them, you know what I'm saying? And I grew up, if you're German American, forgive me. But I was afraid of Germans, man. Them dudes was smart and they was they
I
was
tell you,
ruthless in these movies, man. These dudes was just like I never really understood the German side. I mean, it just shows that these battles were very efficient. You said 3 o'clock, it's now 4 o'clock. You're late. And he starts spinning his revolver. We
hmm
must terminate the
yeah.
your
Well,
name
that's
the
a yeah. Well, you think about what
What's
they almost won, right? They were, you know, um, I don't want to say his name, but the leader of the Germans, he screwed up,
yeah,
man. He had too many fronts, right?
yeah.
Way too many fronts, and that's where one of the biggest downfalls was that when he went into Russia, right? He had a pact with them. He's like, "Yeah, we're good, man. We're not gonna." But when he decided to invade Russia, that it spread his stuff too thin. If he would have just concentrated on Europe, like Western Europe, where France and you know, and just did that and established, you know, his, he probably would have succeeded. It was very close, and then,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, his idea, you know, more than Russia, um, it had its good and bad points from I
mhm,
mean, it was high risk, right? What bogged them down, you know, the Blitzkrieg just was slow. The Russian resolve, man, from the movies and the different things that I saw, the
yeah,
Russians like, hey, bring me another bottle of vodka, bro, and we're gonna just keep fighting. And, you know,
yeah,
Russia, they could deal with that harsh winter. And I think the leader, the Führer, I
yeah.
think the
The Fuhrer.
Führer thought I
He
think
tried
he
to be a
thought,
pushover, right? That they were, yeah,
yeah, he thought he could just blitzkrieg them boys.
yeah.
And
He had,
the Russians held out until the wintertime, and a lot of Germans, man, you just found them frozen in the snow, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
still gripping their weapons and stuff. Like that. What the
yeah,
heck was that?
yeah. That's where he messed up. But like I said, yeah, if he wouldn't have gone into Russia, just and waited, he probably would have succeeded in what he wanted to do for Western Europe, anyways. Because he just
Yeah.
marched into France, took them over. Poland. He was
Hmm.
amassing a large, um, footprint, if you will, but he didn't have the
Hmm.
resources in place to hold them. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
He
weren't.
he miscalculated.
Well, he missed. Japan brought us into it, right? We weren't in the war until after Japan, the Axis ally of the Fuhrer, Germany. If Japan hadn't pulled us into the war, we were, I think it was Roosevelt was like, nah, man, I'm not, nah, you know,
Yeah, what was the Chancellor of England? I mean, he was like, "Yo, you guys need to come on. We need you,
yeah,
Yanks."
Winston Churchill. Well, we were
Yeah, Winston
supporting
Churchill.
them with equipment and stuff, I think,
Hmm.
sort of like what we've been doing with Ukraine,
Yeah. Hmm.
in the
So
past.
yeah, so yeah, man, Memorial Day was that, you know, the history and even the Alamo, man, all the great battles that we had. The Alamo was part of Memorial Day. A lot of movies about George Washington crossing the Delaware, um, defeating the British, man. It was like, wow, this was crazy. I think they even showed some Civil War stuff, too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, they
I know
would. Yeah, so and I'd give a shout out to, rest his soul,
yeah.
my a good friend of mine who passed away from cancer about, well, it's been a little about over a year.
Hmm.
He battled cancer for about a year, and then finally he's come to it. He's
Right.
a veteran.
Yeah.
I think he spent about 8 years in the Air Force. He was a
Hmm.
security policeman before they changed to security forces.
Yeah. And think about us too, man. I mean, the Cold War, right?
Mhm.
Wayne Krebs, Airman Wayne Krebs. Airman Wayne Krebs is responsible for this 20 megaton nuclear weapon here, and his job is to ensure that only authorized individuals
Yeah,
gain access to this this weapon of mass destruction.
yeah,
He's out there, 19-year-old Krebs holding an M16, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Responding to alarms at the various sites. And he was required to go and leave his wife of 2 months and try and go
Well,
out here.
yeah.
It's,
You think about the responsibilities that you and I both shared, growing up as young adults, very young adults. Some would
Mhm.
question whether we weren't even old enough to drink in most states, right?
No,
Um,
no.
but we we could carry
Texas.
a gun and enforce deadly force if necessary, if the situation deemed it. But we
Hmm.
couldn't go. That's a whole nother topic, drinking age, right?
Yeah.
The only reason
Hey,
it's 21 is because the federal government threatened states that didn't comply with the 20 mandatory 21 age drinking age. That's a
yeah.
because it was when I got to North Dakota, my first duty assignment. You could go to Minnesota, it was 19 to drink. You could go to
Mhm.
Canada, and I believe it was 18, which was not far from, if anybody knows geography, North Dakota is right on the border of Canada. So it was on a short trip, hour and a half, we'd go to Canada and, you know, get our drink on. It was not very, Winnipeg is where it was happening, right? Well, you
Back in
were
the day.
your first duty station. You were pretty close to dang
Yeah, I
Canada.
was. That's pretty close, man. We didn't
Did
go
you
to
ever
Canada.
go?
No, we never went to Canada. We went to Moscow. Now that's I mean, no pun intended. There was a place called uh Moscow, Idaho. This little college town across the border, and sometimes me and my flight members would be like, "Hey, man, let's go to Moscow." And I was like, "Moscow? I don't even like it. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Just the
You think
name, that don't even make sense. Americans, we shouldn't be going to Moscow."
yeah.
But when I got there, it was fun.
Was
I
the
was
drinking
mad.
age in Idaho 19 then, or
I think it was. That's why
yeah,
we went
yeah,
to go across the border to get to drink and party. It was a college town too. So Moscow was a little college town, and every once we went over there a few times, during my stint at Fairchild. And
yeah,
so, yeah, man, there's been a lot of conflicts since you and I been in the military. You know what I'm saying? While we was in, and the most notable one was Desert Shield, Desert Storm. You know what I'm saying? That was a big one. And then the I don't even
Afghanistan.
know what did we call it after 9/11? I can't even remember what that was called, but it was, under Bush.
Oh,
We served a few years,
Iraqi freedom. I think it was.
Iraqi freedom or something like that.
Mhm.
And then You
Yeah,
know, I think that's the time you went to Afghanistan, right? Doing that
no,
was
I never went to Afghanistan. I went to Iraq right
Iraq.
after we,
Same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
right after, I mean, wasn't in 2003. I
Yeah.
went there early 2003, right at the beginning. And that really was the first time, not that I really got shot at, but things were shot at us and they were
Yeah.
close to us.
Yeah.
The,
Oh yeah. You get these alarms, these warning missiles. I mean, them suckers wasn't accurate, thank God. The ones that
oh, the Scud
that's
missile.
good missiles.
Yeah.
We got some
Yeah.
close
Well,
calls, but
when I was in Saudi, we had one hit not far from us
hmm
when I was there. Um,
yeah. So yeah, that kind of stuff, And then after we retired, man, looking back, on Memorial Day, people posting their pictures and everything, jarring our memories. Like, you know what? I think I put some pictures out there. Young Airman Sharp. I try to put something in line with what we did, instead of me
well,
out here with blues on. I
I
put
if
some
it
military.
well the problem is I don't if I have picture, where I worked most of the time in the nuke field. When you deal with nuke, there were no camera. There was nobody taking pictures. Because who's going to take? Were you taking selfies with your Polaroid? Nah,
Yeah,
there was none
yeah.
of that. You
I had
couldn't
a
take
little
pictures out there. You
little.
get caught with a
You weren't
camera,
supposed. Yeah, you're right. If you get caught,
you were going to get
um,
disciplined. I was a rule follower, so there was no camera in my stuff, man. I wish there was it now, looking back, because I would have liked to have had some. Um,
some of what
it-
we do and what we say on this show is for entertainment purposes only.
yeah,
Yeah, we had a
yeah.
little Polaroid picture. I took pictures of nukes and silver bullets. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
unfortunately, I do not have any.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, tomorrow the brothers be showing up at my house with these darn helicopters.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the statute is probably you'd have
It's,
to,
it's expired. Yeah,
you might get some scrutiny on your next security clearance.
I know, right? Dang it. Shucks, I won't need one until I'm 62.
Yeah, they'd be like, all right, I'm
You
retired.
got me, dog.
She got me. That's right. You took a picture of me half asleep in the WSA.
Yeah, I know,
Whatever.
right? Full sleep.
Oh,
You know
sleep.
what I'm saying? Yeah, totally. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah, for getting back to our thing, Memorial Day, yeah. But all I knew is we would eat something that we normally didn't eat, like hot dogs on the grill, not just hot dogs, grill hot dogs, some baked beans, maybe some French fries.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
always
s-
that was the staple, man. It was like it's hamburgers, hot dogs, easy.
yeah.
You know, my dad would break out the grill that he never used once in a while.
hmm
Try to.
Yeah. Whatever reason, we would have these competitions sometime. Even at school, like that Friday before, it was always let's see, we didn't get out of school until June, so we were still in school. So we would have what they call that field day, you know what I'm saying? And we'll have this is a Georgia term, maybe a croaker sack. You ever
Mhm.
heard of it's a burlap bag. I think you guys would know it called a burlap bag.
A, a croaker stack? Is that what you're
A
saying?
croaker sack. Yeah, croaker sack. That's what we call them. But they
Was it
were
made from crocus?
bags. Don't even know what it was made out of. They smelled like they was made out of tobacco or something, man. Just the way they smelled. But anyway, we had those sacks because it was a very rural area that I grew up in, and we would get in these bags and we would hop, have a race of just
Oh
hopping in
yeah,
this bag. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? To the finish line. And people would trip down, fall down, whatever. You got to
Well, I
try to.
think those for us, that they would do. They were potato sack bags around where I grew up.
I would think there was something like that, for say potato sack, but
Hmm.
whatever reason it was called croaker sacks. I don't even
Hmm.
know the spelling of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna look it up after we get off the show. If you're
Yeah,
out there and you know what a croaker sack is, Let us
Well,
know. Get
it's I think it's made out of
like
the term
weed
comes
or
from
something.
what the sack is made of, like burlap or crocus, or it's just a
Let me see.
the material. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is one of those things, when you think about it, what we well, it's just growing up in basically really growing up in the 70s, we did those, you know, three-legged three-legged races. We always did some. We had the lawn darts. I know you remember lawn darts. Um,
Ah, I remember lawn darts.
my dad loved when he was younger, we would play we always even had a set, the croquet set, the little mallet and the ball, and you had the little rings that you had to.
Yeah, I never knew how to play that, man. We
Yeah.
abused that.
Oh, we played that so many times, but it was an outdoor thing, and we had badminton or volleyball, mostly badminton because it wasn't as physical as um, volleyball, right? Even though
It's
we
a
had it,
real thing, bro. Croaker sack.
yeah, I
I don't
believe
know
you.
if
I
you can
can't.
see this.
No, I can't.
Thank.
So, there you go. I still can't see it. It's like whiting out what
Let me
you
see if
got
I
on
can
there.
zoom in on it.
I, I, I don't. It's
White
just
it
a
out.
white. It's not showing the picture. It's just
Dang
not
it.
whiting it out.
Yeah, that's it. It's a real thing.
I believe you.
Uh,
I'm not saying it's not, but that's why I
yeah, I
was
know.
curious.
Okay, they call it, it says croaker sack is a burlap or coarse sack often used in the southern United States,
Mhm.
particularly in the Gulf states and South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's essentially a term for a gunny sack or a sack made from coarse material like burlap. The
Mhm.
term croaker sack is believed to have originated from crocus. You what, dude? When you ain't right, you're lucky, okay? You still got it right. What is made from crocus? Something like really, dude. Hey, this is why I hang. This is why I deal with this dude, man. Y'all probably like, what in the what they got in common, man? This dude here is weirdly, he's lucky. He's pretty good too. I mean, common sense, right? It's made from crocus. Crocus? Is that such a thing? By God, it is. Freaking crocus. Crocus, it's spelled like that. Crocus.
I've heard. You never
Dude,
heard of crocus?
y'all don't even understand the humor. Y'all don't even know why I'm laughing. I'm sure you don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know why my computer is blocking me, but okay. It's
But
like you're
wait,
having too
wait.
much fun.
You just have wait, Ernie. You got to say the words.
Crocus.
No, you
Wait a
got to
minute.
say the. You got to say
You
the
was
three.
right. It's funny, man. It's just too funny. What is it made from? Crocus.
And it's like
Okay. All right. I know we're way off Memorial Day, but what is crocus? What is that? I don't
it's a
even know what it is. Have you
it's.
heard of that?
I have heard of it. I think it's a. I want to say it's a crocus tree. It's like
He's probably right, listener. There's probably a tree out there called crocus, man. I'm not gonna challenge you on this live this live stream.
but I'm not positive on it. I always thought it was crocus wood that for again, we've had this discussion earlier. We talked about it. I just know I'm jack of all trades, master of nothing. So I have these little bits of, I did some woodworking. I've done woodworking, and I've heard people talk about I think it's called the crocus tree. The only reason I correlated the two is because what you call the sack, a
Croaker.
croaker sack, and I was like, what is that made of? Crocus? It's just a word association. I just happened to get lucky that it actually was made from crocus.
Is there such a tree as crocus? Your life depends on. Oh, oh no.
Well, I could ask my phone, but if I said it, they'll be like, what? Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crocus.
Um,
Y'all, new word added to your vocabulary. It's real. If you ever want a
I'm sure.
game,
Hey, if you guys have heard of crocus, what it is, put it down in the comments and like it. I appreciate any assistance in that.
that doggone burlap bag. I mean, matter of fact, The old school sandbag was made out of that.
Mm. Yeah,
Not
these
these.
new man, these new ones that they got. You see the ones that we have like at work, out back. You see
Yeah, I don't know
those
what
things
that's
get
made of.
and it's like plastic, and they
Yeah,
just deteriorate into nothing. They don't last for
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Um,
You just jarred that memory the minute we talking about Memorial Day. Yeah, those old school, those brown ones that they see that thing was half dirt. But oh man, I hated those sandbags. Oh my God.
you
And
know
then
what
when they
I
got the
hated?
new ones,
You know what I hated the most about the old sandbags, most even the
was that?
modern ones, that you had to turn them inside out first.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
didn't
know if people
always do
know
that.
that, but you're supposed to turn them inside out before you fill them with sand.
Yeah.
Most people don't even
This
know that.
now that you mentioned it, yeah. You jarred the memory, but there's at least 500 that I feel that was not turned inside out.
Because
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But why? I don't know. Did it
Well,
seal better? I guess it did.
so when they make them, so then they make them, all they're basically, for the most part, they sew just, they don't turn them inside out. They just sew them. So the threads are on the outside. By turning the bags inside, it gives the bag more strength where the stitching is.
Gotcha. It makes sense.
Mm.
I got you. And yeah, I remember having my E2 filling up sandbags made out of crocus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or some kind of
Yeah.
form
And
of
the new
something.
ones they got, the green ones that we used to have, that kind of plastic or whatever that material was, them suckers was slippery. You couldn't grip it. It was, you know what I'm saying? It
Oh,
was,
and
I
tying
didn't
them.
like them.
Oh, I hated tying
I,
them.
I didn't like any sandbag, but I like them less.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you'd fill it, and you have to pass it on, and they would twist it, and then
Yeah.
try
Put the
to.
ties on it.
They don't know
Yeah.
how. They don't even know what not to use to tie them so it doesn't slip. They don't even know. They have no idea.
If I did know, I forgot.
Yeah, they would just
Don't
tie
ask me to
like
tie
they were
sandbags back.
tying their shoes, right? You get a double, and it's double
Yeah.
loop, and
Yeah.
then you bring them back together and tie. It's a whole process, and everybody
And
has.
then,
I don't know if I've ever read the Army manual on doing a sandbag. I know there used to be one.
yeah, the
Um,
Army Field Man.
mhm.
Yeah. That we've had to read some of it, some parts. So I mean, that's where we got all our stuff from anyway.
Well, we
You know,
came from
before
the Air Force was part of the Army, so a lot of the stuff, the
Mhm.
doctrine that we have was derived from Army regs, Army procedures,
Mhm.
Army whatever.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyways, I
amazing.
digress. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing how we got from Memorial Day to doing sandbags, but yeah,
Hey, it's
uh,
still Memorial Day, man. You know them
it
boys
is
over
still
there.
military. It's still military. The wife and I see her here somewhere
Yeah.
right here. We spent the day yesterday driving around South Carolina, going to a bunch of different waterfalls, which was fun. It was interesting. Some of them were not really, woo. But this picture, this picture is at I think it was called Ramchaw Falls.
Hmm.
Super nice facility. They must have updated it. Obviously, you can see here in the picture they have. It used to be a lot of these creeks had mills on them. So this is a over here a millstone, and this one over here, right here, is another one. And they
So
just put them up. They used them. They're real nice.
what was it? What's the association with mills being on near waterfalls and rivers or whatever? Is
But they
it
used
was
to they would put wind or water mills water. So the water mill basically the water was it passed. They would divert water from the creek over this giant wheel, and it would turn right,
hmm.
and then they would grind. They would use these mill pieces here. They were interacted, and they would grind the grain into flour.
So
Um,
they okay, so they had a lot of uses. It
hmm
was kind of like a machine of a sort. You know what I'm saying? The
yeah,
water would turn whatever, turn this water mill thing. I've seen it on TV. The bucket or the trough would get so much water and it just keep turning and all that kind of stuff. It was
yeah.
generated
Well,
whatever
and
they had.
they took,
Yeah.
I forget where this one was at. Well, there was one of the ones we went to. They had a little plaque up there, and they showed, and there was just only thing left of it was this big concrete pillar. But back in early, well, it was in late 1800s. It was just a mill, right? And they
Mhm.
were milling grain. And well, then in early 1900s, say like I think it was 1917 or 1916, they built, they took and they had a dam over it, and they had this area where water flowed through a pipe, and they had made a hydroelectric generator using the water, sort of like they do in the big dams now. But this was just a
Okay.
little. It just produced. I don't know how many watts. I didn't see. They didn't say how many if it was even a kilowatt, but it generated electricity. The water's always flowing. They just diverted some of it to operate a. There's still some parts of the pipe and stuff that is still there. Um, but yeah, it was very interesting. We had a good time. We think of all total, we did like 400 miles yesterday, 400 and some
Mhm.
miles.
Man, that's
Maybe
awesome.
three, maybe it was 300. So I don't know. I'd have to look at the vehicle, but
Yeah.
we stopped and I put a video. We stopped in Pelzer, South Carolina. There's a
Mhm.
we just happened to be driving by the road, and I said, "Hey, look at that! It's a creamery where they, we went inside and they did they had some cows out there and had a nice little shop in there. It's pretty cool. We just had to spend the day, man. We just seeing what there is to see in South Carolina, and it's when you get upstate, there's a lot more. I guess you'd say mountainous or hilly
Yeah.
areas.
Hmm.
Real beautiful. A lot of really cool stuff up there. And we did some walking. Did a lot of walking.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
But yeah. And you're
Good. Good, man. It
but
sounds
that's what we
awesome.
did yesterday.
Hmm.
Today it's raining. I don't know if we have too much outside activity.
Yeah. I'm gonna be heading down to Georgia to see the
Yeah,
folks.
you
We'll
getting ready to
probably
roll? Well,
yeah,
we got about 6 minutes, so we won't. But yeah,
yeah.
Memorial Day weekend, remembering those that have fallen um,
Mhm.
in the name of our country and how you celebrate. It's all differently. As a hopefully everybody is a true meaning and understanding of Memorial Day. I am a veteran. You are a veteran. It's really not our day, right? It's for
It's
those
the
that are
ones before us, they
the ones before us that have fallen to and remember. There is a meaning too. You ever go to you go to a gravesite of a fallen military member. There's usually coins on and each coin has a meaning. I'm not 100% sure, and there's from a penny to a quarter. I think a quarter is that you were there when they fell, um, or died, whatever word you want to use. Um, I think a dime is you were in this. A dime was that you were in the same unit. I think a nickel is that you served in the same branch as them, and a penny is I forget what the penny is. A penny is just saying you were there and you remember. It's something like that. There's a whole thing about it. You can look it up on the internet. What each the coin means on veterans. And you'll see
yeah.
them on their tombstones a lot of times.
Hmm.
So don't take them, leave them. I know
Hmm.
some people don't care and they'll take the money,
Yeah. Hmm.
but I don't really understand the meaning. I mean, if I was to leave a coin on a gravestone, I know someone's going to probably take it, but someone, you know
You
what I
can't be
mean?
leaving those silver dollars, and I mean that literally.
Yeah.
You put one of your
Um,
commemorative coins on that bad boy.
Yeah.
for my dog.
I don't know where it's derived from. I'm sure, somebody will do some research, if you want to put it down in the comments. Um, but more to come. Appreciate all the
Welcome.
subscribers. We're up to 44 subscribers as of this, as we're recording this, which
Let's
is,
try to catch up with the president. How about that?
yeah.
Let's try to get
Well, you
47.
got you got about 4 minutes. The what's that bill? The big bad. What did he call it? What's that? He's got a new the budget bill, big bad bill, or whatever they call it. Big
I don't
beautiful.
know, man.
It's a
Yeah,
big beautiful is what he calls it. Passed
uh-oh.
Congress. I think it passed the Senate. I think he's just got to sign it now.
You're doing away with the IRS? That's the one I want.
Well, I don't know if
Pass
that.
that.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the IRS. I have
I
a
do.
problem with the tax code being so convoluted with crap,
Nah, man.
loopholes, and I don't
Nah,
have a
stop
problem.
taxing me.
I don't have a problem with a reasonable tax, right? I think everybody's tax burden should be the same, not the same amount, but the same burden as far as it's 10%.
We got
My
so many
10%, your
taxes.
10, huh?
We got so many taxes, though. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
We
Let's
have
do
way
a
too
Wayne.
many taxes.
When Wayne finished paying for his house, let's leave him alone. Let's not tax his house no more.
Well, they shouldn't
Let's
be.
not.
Well,
Let's
how
not
do
tax
you
sharp
how do you
short.
plan to how would you pay? So the federal government doesn't put property tax on you. It's not the federal, that's state. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do. I know it's the state, but I
How
think
do
that
how is the state supposed to pay for uh, state workers or county workers that do jobs for the people? Just put a
one thing
state tax.
about it,
Just put a
if you
big.
own
So you
property,
pay state tax or what? Sales
yeah,
tax?
you
Where
pay
would you want
sales
this money to
tax.
come
There it
from?
is. You just nailed it. Sales tax.
So to make up the revenue from their annual property tax,
Mhm.
right? They would have to either increase the state income tax, increase sales. So every time you buy something, instead of paying, well, now it's like 10%, 8 to 10% you're paying in sales tax, whether you're eating something or whatever you buy in the state, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's up there.
I'm fine with it because then you have more control of how much you're paying in state tax,
There you
right?
go. That's what I'm
I
saying.
totally get
I
it.
can elect. Yeah, that's right.
I totally get it.
Yeah. So you're taxing me on something that I paid for. That's unethical. I
Yeah.
mean, I get it. When I make the sales, then there'd be a tax on it. But I bought it. You know what I'm saying? It's mine. And a lot of times I'm paying, you pay taxes on everything. It's gas,
Oh yeah.
food,
You
clothes.
pay federal tax on it, you pay state tax every time you put gas or diesel in your vehicle. Most people
Yeah.
don't even understand that. They don't even know what that means, right? That we are so taxed on everything. You're taxed on your cell phone, you're taxed on your cable TV, you're taxed on, you know, I pay tax on the water that I consume here. You're taxed on your sewage. This is just ridiculous.
It's ironic.
But you can't claim any of that. But anyways, we got less than a minute. On that note, tell me what you think of taxes. Thanks for watching. If you like what
Oh,
we're
what I think.
doing, click the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike. I don't care. It's all good.
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
That's right. Why am
What
I
you got?
paying more tax, road tax, on my
All right.
GMC than you pay on your Toyota?
Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Catch you on the next one, and God bless. Over to you,
God
bud.
bless you guys. I need a flag right now.